Hey everybody, welcome to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota. I am John Clark along with Mike Quick and Ike Reese. And guys, we're talking about a final regular season game against the Cowboys. The Eagles don't need it. They're hoping to finish at 500 at home. But let's talk about where they've come from to get to the playoffs. They're the first team in Eagles history to make the playoffs starting 2-5 or worse. They've won 7 of 9. How did they turn it around?
I got to start with the coaching staff. Nick Sirianni and his coaching staff deserves a lot of credit, for sticking and believing in the game plan they had prior to the season as far as not overreacting, having knee-jerk reactions, and really coming up with ways to adapt and make this team better. They did that by identifying their strengths. What they realized was the offensive line and that running game, and I think that's when the season started to turn.
I agree with Ike. It's really the coaching staff and their ability to understand what they have as players and to utilize those players in the best possible position. They made several adjustments on both sides of the ball. You talk about the run game, the best run game in all of the National Football League, and then the way they've been able to mix and match their defensive guys, especially the front line. They can go 8 deep, sometimes 9 deep on their defensive front, and just mixing guys in, now recognizing what they do well and attacking offenses.
Yeah, and they have really leaned on the running game, as you guys said. They can set an all-time Eagles record for most rushing yards in a season against the Cowboys, and Jalen Hurts has improved as a passer. Let's get some self-scouting here on Jalen Hurts with Greg Cosell.
One thing we've clearly seen as the 2021 season has progressed is the development of Jalen Hurts as a quarterback. Now, make no mistake, he still has a ways to go, and that's a statement based solely on film study. But keep in mind, he's only started a little more than a season's worth, and he came into the Eagles as a player who was not planned by the organization to be a starter in his second season. So the development of Hurts has really been good. And what we do know about Jalen Hurts, he can make plays outside the structure of the offense. We know that his legs are a major factor in his game. And we've seen that time and again this season. We saw it last week against the Washington football team. He can make plays improvisationally, what we call second reaction. And when you have a quarterback that can do that, there's 2 things that are really important here. Number 1, his ability to break down the discipline of the defense. And number 2, he doesn't turn the ball over when he does that. And that's absolutely critical because Jalen Hurts does not turn the ball over much at all as far as throwing interceptions. But one area that we know he needs to continue to develop, and he's getting better and better, is his ability to play within the structure of the offense, understand what he's seeing, and get rid of the football within structure. And there was a really good example of that last week against Washington. A play that probably did not seem like much when it happened, even though it was an 18-yard gain in the third quarter. One thing the Eagles really like to do conceptually is run what we call a flood concept. It's a half-field read. You have 3 levels. You have a deeper route, you have an intermediate route, and you have a shorter route. And you normally read this somewhat deep to short. Normally the deeper route is a clear and you're looking for the intermediate route, but if that's taken away, you always have the flat throw because the whole concept of it is there's a high-low element to it with a defender. You want to see where the flat defender is and you want to work off him. Now this is a great example where the intermediate route is not there. It's taken away by Washington. So what I really like here with Hurts, and it's basic stuff, but it's really good, is he stays in the pocket and he throws it to Boston Scott at the sideline. He's the flat route, the underneath route, and Scott has room to run for 18 yards. This is really well done by Hurts. As I said, it doesn't seem like much, but this is a next step in his development. This is what you want to see. You want to see him leave the pocket when it's required. You want to see him go through progressions and make throws when they're there. So this is the kind of thing that we want to see more and more of with Jalen Hurts, and we're seeing it. I would expect we'll continue to see more of it. Because one thing we know as the Eagles play their final game and get into the playoffs, the wild card round, is teams, defenses will be well aware of Hurts' ability to make plays outside of structure. They're going to try to force him to stay in the pocket, and he's going to have to execute well within that structure.
Jalen Hurts, since he's been back, 3 straight wins, 5 total touchdowns, only 1 interception, not making the big mistake. What did you see from him against Washington?
I just think he's been impressive throughout the season, and one of the things that really stands out about him is poise. And I think he's been poised throughout the season. No matter how the flow is going, up or down, he remains poised and calm. And you watch him on this particular play, it's a play action pass, and he's under center. When he makes the play fake to the halfback, he actually turns his back to the defense. And when he turns to look downfield, he's got Jonathan Allen bearing down on him. He's right in his face. He knows that he's going to take a hit from Allen. The anticipation on this throw, the poise on this throw, it just shows you a lot about this young quarterback. He signed up for this. He knows he's going to take shots sometimes, and he's going to have to stand in there and throw the football. This one he really delivers on, and it just shows you the poise of this young man.
Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. And by Pepsi, your official soft drink of your Philadelphia Eagles.
Not all get wins are going to be double digit. I know we've been the norm of that here lately, but it feels good to win one like this, right? Yeah! This team just keeps fighting. You're up 20, you fight. You're down 7, you fight. It just keeps fighting. That's who we are. We're tough. We're nasty. We're physical. That's who we are. And we know who we are. And that's going to serve us well going into this next portion of our season, right? Hey, this is the one time I'll say this to you. Enjoy this tonight. Enjoy this one tonight. All right? And we'll see what happens tomorrow. Right? We'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm watching as a fan tonight. All right? I'm watching some of those games as a fan tonight. I know we can't control it, but I'm watching.
Just awesome energy from that Eagles locker room after the win in Washington. And getting to this Eagles defense, we've talked all season about how this unit has continued to evolve, and we've seen layer after layer after layer be developed and revealed throughout the course of the second half of the season. And that continued on Sunday against Washington. What we saw was a couple of unique pressure packages on third down using a couple of strong side linebackers. You're going to see here both Jannard Avery, number 58, and the rookie Patrick Johnson, number 48, used here on third and long to help dictate protection to the Washington football team. And what do I mean by that? When you talk about dictating protection, you are trying to get the opposing offensive line to slide one way or the other to either create favorable matchups or get pressure on the quarterback. Now, how do you want to get to the quarterback? Obviously, you want to try and see if you can create a free runner. And one of the best ways to do that is with a zone exchange blitz, where you're still going to get a 4-man rush. And that's what the Eagles do here. They're still going to rush Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, and Josh Sweat, but you're going to send a 4th rusher in TJ Edwards. But Washington, they don't know this before the snap. You still got Jannard Avery, Patrick Johnson. There's even a safety, Rodney McLeod, lined up off screen to the left-hand side. With all of these threats this way, Washington is going to slide their protection in this direction. And we can see at the snap of the ball, that's where the center's eyes initially start. The offensive line all looking right. You've got Javon Hargrave. He's going to slant inside. That's going to take away this offensive guard. So what does that leave? That leaves TJ Edwards blitzing from the weak side of this rush. He's matched up one-on-one with the running back. Now, TJ Edwards is not going to be able to get home, but what does he do? He impacts the running back right in front of quarterback Taylor Heineke. That means that he's got nowhere to be able to step up. And when you've got Josh Sweat on one side, Fletcher Cox on the other, both of these guys are able to win. They get the edge on the offensive tackles. You can see both defensive linemen are able to get home, and it's Josh Sweat that is able to get home for the sack here on 3rd and long. So that pre-snap look from the Eagles using both Jannard Avery and Patrick Johnson, that dictated the protection to the offensive line. The Eagles were able to get that favorable matchup. You get that blitzer up into the lap of the quarterback, and it results in a sack. A little bit later, very same quarter, you're going to see once again Jannard Avery and Patrick Johnson. This time, instead of being right next to each other, they're on opposite sides of the formation, and you're still creating one-on-one matchups. It's a 5-over-5 look. 5 offensive linemen against 5 blockers. You are creating one-on-one matchups, and you're also getting a sense of where the man-to-man protection schemes are, because when you have an offensive line, you're going to have one side of the offensive line that is going to slide, and then everybody else is in man-to-man. So you can see that this guard, Brandon Scherf, he's man-to-man on Jannard Avery. The center, he's worried about Hargrave. And just like everybody has played pickup basketball growing up, Best way to beat man-to-man defense? A pick and roll. And that's essentially what the Eagles do here with a little TT stunt where you're going to get Jannard Avery. He's going to work inside as a picker, and then you're going to get Javon Hargrave looping around him. This little stunt is just like pick and roll in basketball. Avery is going to pick off the center, and it's meant to get Hargrave free to the quarterback. But what you often see with this kind of scheme is that picker is the first one in, and he's got the ability now to get home to the quarterback. And that's exactly what Jannard Avery does. He blows up the center, and he's able to get home for a sack. So the Eagles, using a couple of these linebackers, have found ways to be able to dictate protection, create favorable matchups, and get into some creative schemes up front to pressure the opposing quarterback. Something to watch here as this defense gets into the playoffs.
Let's go, man! Hey, Vontae. Mic'd up. Don't say nothing crazy. Let's go! Gotta play some ball now! Get out the way, because I'm coming through. That way. Hey, B. Scott, big time play, baby. You animal, Boston! Let's go!
Dallas Goedert, always fun. He's averaging 85 yards receiving over the last 4 games. He has really come on, along with a guy that he was drafted with, the same draft, Josh Sweat. He's now tied for the team lead with Javon Hargrave in sacks. Ike Reese, what are you seeing from Josh Sweat?
Well, I'm seeing Josh Sweat step up when he's needed the most, right? We understand what the D tackles have done all year, and they needed to get this pressure from the outside going. Yeah. Josh Sweat got off to a little bit of a slow start, but I think he's starting to figure it out. 4 sacks over the last 4 games, and in this game against Washington, this may have been his best overall game as a Philadelphia Eagle. Let's take a look at him right here. We got him lined up in a snug alignment right here. He's inside that tight end, right outside the right tackle's shoulder. And what I like about this alignment is that they don't really understand if Josh is going to run a stunt with Fletcher on the inside or if he's going to go outside. But you watch him at the get off, the snap of the ball, he's the first one that you see move. He gets into that tackle immediately, and here's where his game has grown as a pass rusher. You can't just be an outside speed rusher to think you're going to beat every tackle around the outside. You got to have counter moves, and I like the way Josh is starting to use his hands. He uses his hands here to get the swipe move, get to that edge, bend the corner. Not many defensive ends in the NFL can get as low to the ground as Josh Sweat does at this size. He's able to get to Taylor Heineke. Could have been given the full sack here. He'll give half of it to his line mate, Fletcher Cox, but this is a great play from Josh Sweat. His athleticism is on display, his power is on display, and more importantly, he's showing that he's added something to his pass rush repertoire, which if you're going to be one of the best defensive ends in this league, you got to have more than just speed. You got to have counter moves. Josh Sweat, over the last month of this season, really has stepped up big time for this Eagles defense.
You know, he also had 2 batted balls in that game. The guy gets to the quarterback, and it really helps, too, that in the pocket, you don't have any holes in the pocket where the quarterback's able to escape and get down the field. That you're solid up front. It allows those guys on the edge, and Josh Sweat, as you said, he's been playing great. It allows those guys to get to the quarterback because the quarterback has nowhere to go. If he can't step up and find a run lane in the middle, then Josh Sweat is going to get to him, or Derek Barnett on the other side.
Yeah, Josh is also second on the team in tackles for loss. They love those TFLs. How about the defense overall? For the 10th time this year, they gave up 18 points or less. That's tied with the Broncos for the most in the NFL and the most for an Eagles defense since back when Ike was playing the Super Bowl team 2004. Here's a little self-scouting on the Eagles D with Greg Cosell.
As this 2021 season has progressed, we have seen the Philadelphia Eagles defense evolve and definitely get better. One area we know it has gotten better, we can just look at the stats, although the film shows it as well, is run defense. In the last 9 games, the Eagles have only allowed one team to rush for more than 100 yards. So now we know that this Philadelphia Eagles defense, they can stop the run. And what that does is it forces offenses to have to throw the ball. And we have seen, as this season has progressed, the Eagles can rush the quarterback with 4. Josh Sweat, to me, has played exceptionally well over the last month. Fletcher Cox has played extremely well inside, along with Javon Hargrave. But one thing we've seen a lot of, we've seen a little more diversity in the secondary. Early in the season, it was almost predominant zone coverage. The last month or so, we've seen the Eagles play zone, play man, do some disguise, late movement. There was a great example of that against the Jets. You see this initial look. It looks like a 2-shell look right now. Could be cover 2, could be cover 4, but it's a shell coverage. But when the ball gets snapped, that's not what it is. You see Marcus Epps rotate back as a single high safety. It becomes an inverted cover 3 look. And you're making the quarterback think and decipher after the snap of the ball. You're changing the picture. Because initially it looked like the middle of the field would be open. That is now closed, and you see the result. It's an overthrow and an interception by Epps. The Eagles have been doing more and more of this, and I'm sure they will continue to do it as they play their final game of the season and then work into the wild card round of the playoffs. There's no question that Jonathan Gannon's defense has really changed and evolved as the season has gone on, and one thing is for certain, this defense has gotten better and better.
All right, we see all the disguises that the Eagles defense they've come up with, especially in the secondary. Ike Reese, what are you seeing from this defense?
Well, I'll tell you what I love, the improvement of this defense. We talk about in order to have a good defense, you need to have playmakers and difference makers at all 3 levels. We know the defensive line is the strength of the defense. Our secondary with big play Slay has been doing a great job, and now they're starting to get the contributions from the linebackers.
Oh, here we go.
That's right. The second level guys, they have to be difference makers. First of all, they're doing a great job playing the run, playing downhill, attacking blockers, getting off blockers, and making tackles. And then secondly, they are becoming difference makers in the game. TJ Edwards, my goodness, he is everywhere, whether it's versus the run or versus the pass. He seems to be in the right place all the time. And then Alex Singleton going in there, filling in for Davion Taylor. We know he has a lot of starts under his belt. He's a playmaker. Pick 6 a couple weeks ago to help change the game around against the Giants. I love that we're getting contributions from all 3 levels. If there's going to be a deep run in the postseason, that's the type of defense you're going to have to play.
Welcome back to Eagles Game Plan presented by Toyota, and I'm looking for the Eagles to avenge their most lopsided loss of the season. They lost by 20 points to the Cowboys. They were never really in that game. What are you looking for against the Cowboys?
I guarantee you this is a completely different team than what we saw in week 3 from the Eagles' standpoint. Obviously, it's the final game of the season. Doesn't change much in your standings, so you want to get out there, fine-tune some things, get out of that game healthy as possible so that you're ready to go the following week when the postseason starts.
Most important thing, get out of the game as healthy as possible. But you know it's Dallas. You know it's Dallas week. Anyone who comes into this stadium with a star on their helmet, you want to beat them. So you want the beat down. That's how you want to finish the season.
Yeah, the Cowboys said they're coming to win, playing their starters. And I know the link will be juiced up because it is the Cowboys.
That's right.
Enjoy the regular season finale, and then it's the playoffs. He's Ike Reese, Mike Quick. I'm John Clark. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Eagles Game Plan is brought to you by your local Tri-State Toyota dealers, proud automotive partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. NovaCare Rehabilitation, the power of physical therapy. And by Pepsi, your official soft drink of your Philadelphia Eagles.